Bonjour, bonjour. Today we are going to have a look at the imparfait tense in French. The imparfait is being used when we are wanting to express an action from the past that lasted longer than another action, than a possible other action, which is generally represented by another tense called the passé composé. So I'm going to give you an example here. And for example, if I say to you in English, I was preparing dinner when all of a sudden somebody knocked at the door. So I was preparing dinner will be translated by the imperfect tense, and somebody knocked at the door will be translated by the passé composé tense. You could also translate the imperfect tense by I used to do something, which is normally coming back to the translation that I was telling you earlier, which is a long action, a long duration in time that is represented by the imperfect tense. So today what I would like to look at are three different things in order to walk you through the composition and the way that we employ the imperfect tense in French. So let's have a look at the subject pronouns and how to translate them. Let's remind ourselves of the subject pronouns in French. Let's start by how to translate I. So I will be translated by je in French. Then you will have you, which will be translated by tu. And then he or it will be represented by il. And she or it will be represented by elle. Then we will be able to translate we by on. Then the we is normally translated by nous. You will be translated by vous, but vous is also a formal way to talk to another person. And then we will be able to translate they masculine by ils and they masculine by feminine by elles. Okay. So the next step is to have a look at the imperfect endings. So let's see, based on who is doing the action, how are the endings going to be written. So je is going to be associated with AIS. Tu is going to be associated with AIS. Il, elle, and on will be associated with AIT. Nous will be associated with IONS. Vous will be associated with IEZ. And then ils and elles will be associated with AIENT. So now what we will be doing is to have a look through the groups that we find in the French, to differentiate, to separate the French verbs, because they are following a specific patterns. So we have the first group, the second group, and the third group. So the verbs are all separated into three groups. And the first group, it will be acting a specific way. And today I'm representing the first group by the verb parler, which is to speak. And the first group verbs are all ending with ER. So how are we going to create the imperfect tense with the first group verbs? Well, it's as easy as you can get. It's you remove the er, which is the mark of the infinitive, and you add the ending of the imperfect tense, which is AIS, AIS, and then AIT. We have AIT for L, AIT again for on, IONS for nous, IEZ for vous, then ils, AIENT, and then else is ending by AIENT. So, je parlais, tu parlais, il parlait, elle parlait, on parlait, nous parlions, vous parliez, ils parlaient, elles parlaient. So this was the first group verbs. Then now we are going to have a look at the verb from the second group, which are here represented by the verb finir, which is to finish. So the way that these verbs are going to be acting will be slightly different. The pattern that we'll have to follow for the verbs of the second group will be slightly different, and the way you will have to do is by adding a double S. So for every person, you will add a double S. As simple as it get for now. So each person will have a double S added at the end of fini. So the only thing that you are doing is to remove the R, isn't it? So let's have a look at, so this is ending in IR. And then once you've added the double S, you can add the endings of the imparfait, which is now getting simple, more and more simple for you, because we've already seen it a couple of times. So not this one, AIT for il, and then AIT for elle, and then AIT for on, IONS for nous, IEZ for vous, and then AIENT for ils, and then AIENT for else. So that was for the verbs of the second group. So let's have a look now at some of the verbs of the third group. Let's see if we have time to do the 3 of them today. That will not be a problem if we don't have time, because there are many more to have a look at, and the only way for you to learn all these verbs and to know, to understand their pattern and to remember their patterns is by getting acquainted with them, to know and understand the way that they are acting, what is being changed, and what is being added. So here for the third group, verbs like prendre, which means to take, we are removing DRE, which is the end of the verb, the mark of the infinitive, and we are adding, as simple as that, the endings of the imperfect tense. So AIS, AIS, then AIT, AIT for L, AIT for on, IONS for nous, IZ for vous, then ils, AIENT, and else, AIENT. So this was as simple as it gets. You remove the mark of the infinitive, which is the DRE, and then you add the imperfect endings, which is actually very similar to the pattern from the first group. If we have a look now at the verb voir, which is ending in OIR. So in this case, voir will be slightly different. So we are removing the I and the R, a bit like, no, it's not even like the second group verb, because the second group verb we are removing the R only, are we? So we are removing with voir, which means to see, we're removing IR. And we are adding a Y instead. At every person, no, we are adding a Y instead of the R. There you go. And what we're going to do is that we are going to add the ending of the imparfait that we've already seen in so many places already. So we have AIS, AIS, and then AIT, AIT again, AIT again, then IONS, voyons, and then IZ, voyez, and then AIENT, voyez, AIENT. So je voyais, tu voyais, il voyait, elle voyait, on voyait, nous voyions, vous voyez, il voyait, and else voyait. So this is to voir, voir, to see. And yeah, I think we're going to stop here for today because that's a lot of knowledge that you already acquired. And what I would like you to do is to have a look at the sentences that you can create out of the use of these verbs, and you know, to create as many as possible so that you get more and more acquainted with them, and more understanding, and more you get the mechanism of these verbs, these specific verbs and specific groups. So thank you very much for listening today, and I'm looking forward to speak with you. If you have any question, any comment, just don't hesitate to ask them. And no question is stupid enough. And I'm looking forward to speak with you. Bye bye.